We supported you while Mommy was here, but ain't happening anymore.
I told you, I'm a private investigator now. You're just gonna have to hustle. I need a hustle. No, to hustle.
This is the time, Peg. You're a phoenix, baby.
I know.
What are you supposed to be?
A real PI? What are you playing at?
I'm not hiring.
I'm a natural detective. You need me, and I need this job.
Be here Monday morning at 9 a.m.
I don't get up before 11.
That's a look at the new series High Desert, starring Emmy, Golden Globe, and Academy Award-winning actress Patricia Arquette. Her character Peggy goes from being a drug dealer to a private investigator after her mother's death. The dark comedy makes its debut today on Apple TV Plus, and we are so excited to have Patricia here with us in studio. She also serves as one of the show's executive producers. It's great to see you, Patricia.
It's so great to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. We have so much to ask you. I know you're going to reveal everything about season 2 of Severance. Which is very exciting
Let me
for
just
us.
start now.
Yeah. but let's start with this character, because as you were just saying to Joe, completely different, a 180 from what your character does on Severance to High Desert. So who is Peggy? Where are you going with this character?
She's a sober-ish person. She's constantly slipping and struggling with her sobriety. She's always hustling. She has her own code of morals and ethics, and she's trying to hustle to make some money, basically. So she's got multiple jobs, and she cons her way into being a private eye, but she also works at Pioneer Town. And her ex-husband is Matt Dillon, and her mother is Bernadette Peters. And
what a cast.
Incredible cast.
Wow. Come on.
Yeah. I know, it's so good. It's so good. And it's just a counterculture comedy. It's very different than anything we have on. It's like a little bit of an homage to the Coen brothers and, kind of more wildness.
Felt a little Raising Arizona in there, a little Coen brothers.
Yeah, exactly. So what attracted you to it, and how did you get involved? How did you get hooked up with it?
Well, what attracted me to it was the writing. The three women that write this show are just, their humor is so different, and their voice is so original, and it's got this off-kilter kind of way of looking at the world that I really appreciate, and I think is very funny.
So let's take another look at a clip from High Desert. Patricia's character Peggy has a bit of a heart-to-heart with her concerned siblings.
Peggy, what are your plans?
What do you mean?
Have you thought about what you're going to do next?
Regarding what?
Regarding what? I mean, look, it's fine that we supported you while Mommy was here because you were taking care of her, but ain't happening anymore.
Peggy, you need a job.
I have a job. Look around you. And don't disrespect me because we pool tips.
Well, you work as a fictional barmaid.
Yeah, that's acting. It's my job.
Oh, what if you act like a court stenographer or something?
What?
I have a record. This is kind of the best I can do right now.
The script, as you just mentioned, the cast, as we just mentioned, the originality of the concept of this program. How has a place like Apple TV and others, Netflix, but Apple TV much more so, I think, lately than any other element involved, how has that changed the life of working actors like you?
Yeah, that's a great question. It has a lot. Like, this show would never be on network TV.
Yeah.
It's just too risque. Jay Roach is our director. He did Meet the Fockers and many other comedies. And, he's got that kind of razor's edge kind of humor at times. It could never happen on network TV. And so to have streaming networks like Apple and some of these other ones take chances has really opened up the field, I think.
Patricia, when you're doing a comedy like this and you read the script, you talked about the writers, obviously it's entertaining, but you have so many overlapping kind of things that people can learn, like the difference in cultures between where you started as the character and where you end up in Arizona, where a recovering addict I mean, all kinds of issues come into play. Do you think about that as you do this, or you just do it with a natural flow because this is natural life that we all intersect in different places?
She's kind of like a cyclone. Her energy's constantly moving, and she's picking up all these broken birds along the way, because she knows she has a strength, but she is this addict. And part of this chaos around her is avoiding your own pain. And you think you're strong enough. You're really not that strong because that drug is kind of always calling to you. And she loses her mother, and that she doesn't really know how to cope with that at all. So it's a balancing act of all these different things. But the writer Nancy had lost her sister Marjorie, and this was kind of based on Marjorie, who had said at one point, you know what, I'm going to be a private detective. She was struggling with drugs. I think you'd actually be a great private detective, oddly enough. And I had known a lot of drug addicts, many who had passed away in my youth, but they were beautiful people. And I wanted to celebrate that part of them. They were lost. They didn't have the mechanisms. They couldn't really cope with the world. But they also had beautiful hearts. And I think in America, we don't really look at it as an illness. We still look at it as a real character flaw.
Well, and you talked about how this wouldn't be on network TV. I think one of the main reasons is because how addiction is confronted, how it's handled. I've lost a friend. And like you said, you always think when you're growing up, it's a black and white thing, right? Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin. It's all black and white. They were self-destructive. Sometimes somebody makes a really bad decision at 2 a.m. when they're really down and they're impaired, and it's never quite that black and white. And it seems to me you really are drawing that out and showing real compassion towards just the terrible battle that somebody who's fighting addiction has to go through every day.
And you do see the siblings, how frustrated they are with the reality of loving an addict. Like, it is frustrating. And you do get sick and tired of their con game, So you're seeing all of these different elements all at once within a comedy framework.
Right. Mika has got the next question. Mika?
It's so great to have you on the show, and I love how empathic your character is. I'm curious, we all remember your speech for equal pay at the Oscars years ago and all that you've done, speaking at the UN, a documentary. You've really taken on the issue. I'm curious where you think actors and actresses are when it comes to equal pay today, and also how that activism on your part has impacted your career, either positively or negatively.
Oh, thanks. Well, we all saw during the pandemic that a vast majority of the jobs that were lost were females. At one point, it was 100% 1 month. Of all the job losses were women who were staying home with their kids and taking care of the family. So there's still a great imbalance, I think, and we certainly haven't even come back up to the levels we were at pre-pandemic. But I never was really in that speech talking necessarily about actresses being paid less. We do, but 99.9% of all professions, women are paid less. So I was really talking about across the board that women were paid less, and how that leads to women having less in retirement, being more likely to live in poverty in their elder years, take years longer to pay off their homes or pay for their children's education, higher education, or their own higher education. So we still have a long, long way to go.
And sometimes you because
do.
you don't usually hear the story, sometimes something will slip out. I remember during second season of Crown, I think we found out that Claire Foy made less than her male co-star. She was the queen.
Yeah.
And Claire carried, I mean, there were great actors across it, but she really was. She was queen. And you're thinking, wait, she gets paid less. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and this woman, they're nickel and diming her. It was pretty crazy.
I think across the board, and I say for myself as well, I think that there's a lot of unconscious bias that we all have from growing up. So I don't see somebody in a room somewhere that I could point the finger at and say, that's the person doing this. I've had to, stand my own ground myself with people that I know are allies.
Right.
That still didn't see it that way or understand I could get more or this person should get more. So I think it's a constant battle. Hopefully we're all evolving. Ideally we as a country want to come to everything, whether it's LGBTQ rights, women's rights to their bodies, not to carrying around a dying embryo and getting sick from it in the United States of America. We need to approach everyone with goodwill, kindness, the good things that we're supposed to be as people,
All right.
All right. High Desert is streaming now on Apple TV Plus.
Are you going to ask her, Willie? Are you going to ask her? Severance? We want to know what happens in season 2, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Listen, as soon as you ask about Severance, the Cobell in me comes out.
Oh, no.
And you don't want that.
No?
Not really.
But there's a lot good things ahead.
Good things are coming.
Crazy.
I'll tell you that.
All right. We'll be watching. High Desert is streaming now on Apple TV Plus with new episodes every Wednesday. Patricia Arquette, great to have you here. Thanks for coming
Thanks for having me. Thank you.